a week out, a week in. And so now it's a chance to reset for the second half of the season. The Velocity Ultimate Masters here in season number 5 now looks to take its curtain start for the second half of a season that has been dominated as it was the year before. So will there be a chance of reconsolidation? Will there be a chance for teams to bounce back with form? And who will say, after what is a tumultuous week in terms of where we race and how we race, an undiscovered bug that has now been found over at the Shanghai International Circuit means a week earlier than scheduled, we jump over to the land of the rising sun, where Suzuka is this 6th round of the championship. My name's Jake Sperry, that's James Otter, who's along with me on this, and we take a look at this calendar at an important time in collaboration with Hyundai, Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and the Specialist, James, because this is a pretty important change that the next 3 rounds aren't what they started up and signed up for technically.
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? Good evening, everyone. All of the drivers have now got to sort of re-grasp exactly what's going on in this particular calendar. That undiscovered bug right at the last second as well, a bump around the Turn 11 complex would mean that in this situation, these drivers have got to adapt as quickly as they possibly can. Now, the Japanese circuit is something that's within their repertoire, so they can certainly manage that one. Mexico next week, though, could pose a bit of a challenge. However, Japanese 130R, hairpin, I'm thinking spoon cut curve. Plenty of opportunities for overtaking when you've got equal cars, Jake.
Absolutely, and especially down at the Astamo chicane, the former Casio triangle. That could be the most important place, especially late on in racing, to go and get things sorted. So, how they look to stack, how they look to set, and how they look at their qualifying effort will be incredibly important, but also to keep an eye out on what happened in round 5 of the championship just before the halfway stage. And this, in my view here, James, the decisive moment that has given ET8 their advantage. Their 2-3 with Sergio Olli and ET8 Ryderdal. Massive, even though Ivan Eskrig at his favourite track was able to take full spoils.
Yeah, SCI only managed to get P5 within the top 10 in this particular race through Snack. Lars Kramer separating him from the rest of the ET8 boys. But even Eskrig coming out on top for the second of the Spanish teams in this championship. Good effort from RSC as well to get 6th and 7th. Down at the bottom, the rest of the round for round number 5, that is over at Imola. 11th through 20th suggested that, it was a bit of a tightly compacted grid. But in the end, SCI couldn't really benefit from those in the top 10 by having both of their drivers not in there. So this is where SCI, at one point the favourites for this championship, have got to try and bounce back, especially with Lawrence DNF.
Yeah, and Laurent's out of the team then for the second half of the year from that result and what happened at Spa, where he picked up the the qualifying ban that effectively put him in that position. So no more Laurent's for the season, but TF10 there, Tatum Restek, sorry, the driver TF10 Callum there in 13th. Will be looking to try and pick up a little bit more form out there on the run. And a big shock, really, Kevin Zuneberg as well, down in 17th. Tried something different, didn't pay off for the Future Racing team, and they'll be very desperate for points, which will be important to talk about right now, how the standings look going into this one. ET8 on 190, Shazoo Cedars 35 points adrift. We've got AMR then and RSC. They're split by 1 point, just 12 points and 13 points back off of Shazoo. And the Future Racing team now 12 points adrift of RSC. That is a very tight top, but still, you don't want to give ET8 35 points head start.
AMR doing a really, really good job, to be fair, to get up into P3, of course, capitalising on FRT's poor performance, dropping down to P5 for them. Down at the bottom, I think you've got to also take a look at the likes of Tatum Restek and Alien Motorsport. Now, we know AMS were not looking to be towards the front. They're a team more known for their assists running tiers, but they do have a few non-assist runners, and they're able to scrap together 33 points. Tatum Restek, though, a team well known within the esports sphere, really struggling to get off the mark in the F1 scene.
Yep, They are just in that position, 9th place, so that will, prize money-wise, basically get their entry back in at this moment in time. But let's take a look at who will be starting up then for racing today, because this is going to be important. So you've got Alex Marciano making his first start then for ET8, the ever-popular Max van der Geest then in for Ventari, Zinedine Hajjaj making his first start as part of the changes that have come in. But the big thing is you need to start this second half of the season strong. SCI going with Silo.
Yeah, of course, they're going to bring Silo into the mix, aren't they? SCI, of course, the fastest man currently on the platform at the moment within Xbox and PlayStation. I'm keeping an eye out as well on the likes of Max van der Geest, because at the moment his form's starting to fall just a little bit for Ventari. So good opportunity for him to bounce back perhaps and try and find that momentum that he's mostly known for. David in for FRT should also be a decent one as well.
Yep, he certainly should be someone to note as this one gets itself set and ready to go. As you got Giosh also in for a first start over Tatum Restek. Knight moving teams back into AMS fold, then over the break. And AKP Adrian swapping teams as well. Adrian dropped in terms of his run through. Just trying to take an eye out on where he's gone, because Adrian in at the future racing team dropped from All Elite. So that a little bit of an upgrade as we get ourselves set. But Suzuka then as a circuit and a hot lap around a track like this. 19 turns. So it is one of the few tracks that you watch in the world that tests every part of a racing drive out there. Got to remember, back when it created the great battles of 1989 and 1990 between Senna and Prost, eventually in Formula One circles, this track had only been around for 5 or 6 years, yet it has got its legendary marker because of it.
Yeah, can't help but 1989 was obviously the infamous incident between Senna and Prost. 1990, Prost and Senna in the other direction maybe is what's resulting in them two, I think, really reconciling and just deciding they're both legends in their own right. Speaking of legends, Nico himself currently heading through the hairpin in this corner as he heads through to one of my favourite selection of corners in all tracks here. The spoon curve of turn 13 and 14 will pose a little bit of a threat for these drivers. If you get this one wrong, you could be spat out wide and you'll be getting a warning, if not a penalty. And your car could also be spat even further wide into that gravel trap just on the outside of 14 as they head through to 130R.
It's going to be a wonderful bit of racing that we are about to get to on the other side of this, because when we come back, we're into Q1 and we're going to see if 5 drivers will be able to hold themselves steady, because we know that 5 of them are going out. The other 15 will advance to Q2. Bright sunny skies on a Q1 out there here for these drivers in the Velocity Ultimate Masters. 18 minutes on the clock to determine who the slowest 5 drivers are going to be on a lot of changes. Now, let's just run through the team changes here as we've got no cars currently out there on track. So ET8 have made 2 changes. So out goes Lifebout and Owen for Azem and Astala. At AMR, it will be Claudio Diaz and Axelink who will be out for Tiago and Tico. Then you've got Tomas, who is going to jump in for Ventari. He replaces Roman. SCI, Dirk jumps in for Laurent. At RSC, Zinedine Hajjaj making his first start, as also Renz Thomason will jump in. On the outs for them will be Giggle and Mathis Gie, who moves teams. Philippa Knight out in at AMS, as Ollie Hornby and Nardo depart for the roster this season. The only team to not have a change is the Angry Sharks, so they're exactly as they were at the start of the season. 3 move in for All Elite, as Pavlos, Mathis and Rapi jump in for Shadow, RW06 and AKP Adrian, who does jump over to the Future Racing team along with Quantum, as Misha and Knight are out from there. And then Christian and Guyosh and also Simone in, so 3 changes at Tatum Restec. They jump in for Andrea, Callum and JT, who are out. So lots of changes there, James, as we get ourselves set on board with Nico Sauce and the Angry Shark McLaren on intermediates. Track Racer out on a set of wets, trying to save a set of intermediates.
Yeah, of course, opportunity for the drivers to, the teams to do a little bit of chopping and changing, because, of course, with the switch of the calendar, they were all given a free Joker card. So that explains why we've had quite a substantial change in roster, alongside a few teams also chopping and changing their drivers as well. Chopping and changing drivers, tyres, rather, for the drivers on the intermediates, of course, a bone dry circuit. Don't want to waste all of the limited amount of dry tyres that they've got, so nothing to be too representative at the moment, but Nico will be setting the first lap, as said, on a set of intermediates. Speaking of which, actually, looking like the ones represented in the Kick Sauber Track Racers on a set of wet, so that's going to be a bit of a precarious lap, I think.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be very much like
There we
dancing
go.
about. That will be wide going through the SS section. Up over now, heading towards the Gyakubank corner. That was Track Racer now over towards 130R on this outlap. Oh, it's painful to see that much understeer there in 8th gear. Very tough to go and work with. And the wet tyre, the blue tyre, is often a tyre that doesn't get much love and doesn't get much running, mainly for the fact that once you get into that wet tyre and the grooves that are there, you're chucking so much spray up over the top of the tyres that it's naturally red flag conditions, because of the fact that drivers don't have enough visibility to see out there on circuit. Really fighting through turn 2 and now working through the S's section now. This is the Assura S curve through 3, through 4. The Cherry Blossom there on the left-hand side. Now in through turn 5. Gyaku Bank, or what is known as the reverse bank corner of turn 6, is off camber down here on the exit, and then you fight for the Nipo corner at turn 7 to the 2 famous jutting rights of Degna.
Yeah, the All Elite Racing team then fielding with the wet tyre for now. These tyres will be screaming at over 100 degrees, which is about 35 degrees over their usual operating temperature. Of course, we might not be seeing these tyres so much longer as well. Getting on the grass is not going to help him here. If the rumours have got anything to go by 2028, we could be seeing the super intermediate tyre, which would indicate that the wet tyre will be no more, but the intermediate tyre will be upped just a little bit. So that could be one to watch if the rumours are true. Here is Max von der Geest, then, a man looking to try and discover his form once again for Ventari. He comes across the line 132.5, again not representative on the intermediate time. Matteo going about a second faster. Here's even Eskrig, AMR's driver, 131.6.
Well, critically at ET8, they make a complete change from the team that got a 2-3 2 weeks ago. So Mateo, who has run rounds 1, 3 and 4, jumps in for his 4th start. Alex Marciano in for his first start then of the season. We're on board with Silo, and there's a good reason why here, James. 3 starts, 3 pole positions, 3 wins.
Silo at the end of the day showing that he's got the pace on the Inter as well, 130.849. So again, not representative, but again, the man is just the fastest person, most reliable person on console at the moment. So SCI have got an incredible driver in Silo at the moment as well. There's not many drivers that beat him at the moment. A couple of days ago, one did, but that is food for thought in a set of events that are completely different to this one. Nico going across the line with a 31.8 for Ventauri, looking very much as if, as it stands anyway, Jake, if these times have got anything to go by, I don't think they do, but if they do, that it could be a little bit of a mixed bag towards the front.
I expect it to be, because this is a circuit that challenges every element of a car's balance and its performance. You've got these sweeping sections of lefts and rights as we focus with Knight on a set of intermediates, and basically the second sector is stop and start. The moment you hit Degner, you know you're in a second sector. You hit the brakes, you go under the bridge through the second Degner, up towards the Nissan brake hairpin now, this small right. This used to be called Kobayashi Corner when Kamui Kobayashi constantly started to send it around the outside, down the inside, any way he liked to make moves. Through 200 radians right, and this is going to be where you line up to spoon. Now, there is a small bit of tarmac there on the right-hand side. That's your brake marker.
Oh, wow, yeah, he's just looking to try and find the maximum amount of grip available in these tyres. Again, these tyres will now be approaching 90, maybe 100 degrees Celsius, about 30 degrees over their usual operating window. But the AMS driver will be hoping that he could just try and manage this pace as much as he can and try and get at least some bigger points on the board. Try and at least get some, upwards of points maybe. Try and put Tatum Restek under a little bit of pressure for P9. Try and get their money back if they can. Here comes Knight as he comes across the line well down the field, though. 32.3.
32.3 is okay, but still puts the driver at risk of Knight if everybody else doesn't decide to do another lap out there. 10 minutes and 45 seconds remaining out there. W Monza then focusing. This is the first real lap of anger that we will see. RSC electing not to use an intermediate lap, and they're just going to go straight out there on a set of soft tyres. You can really see sixth gear trying to work through the various sections. You can see cars slow on the outlaps on the outside, and now really trying to work hard to get through. Little kick of oversteer on the exit, out on the curb, and now up over into the Nissan brake hairpin and trying hard to work this middle sector into a line. Just pushing the boundaries a little too fine at the moment. Needs to just find the rhythm around this place. You've almost got to find a togue drifting as if you're on top of the mountain somewhere around a BC.
Yes, keeping a firm eye on Monza as he's just trying to, at least set something of a precedent here for the RSC team as well. RSC, a team that have found some significant form in the sort of second half of this particular game cycle, or, second quarter, if you will, considering F1 26 is a no more. But, at the end of the day, RSC just trying to continue with that form. Lost a little bit of ground recently, but with a 26.7, that's an early precedent setter in the beginning of Q1 on these dry laps. Other laps coming in, we've got Chiquita also on a lap alongside Caden as well for AERT on the soft run as well. I think the next person to set a soft tyre lap, if I have it right, will be Caden, as he's just invalidated and straight into the wall. There, he gets beached up on that curb, didn't he? Didn't look comfortable, and he's now going to have to wait and have another go at this one a little bit later. Chiquita will be the next person to set a lap.
You think you've got a nice first sector in the back pocket, and then the Degners are those corners that are about as subtle as a Mike Tyson right hook. It is a very tough section of road to get correct because it is so counter to what you've dealt with in the early part of the lap, which is so sweeping and so flowing. On board with Chiquita now, who's looking to put that first time down. This is where we're going to start seeing the first real attempts on the board. This is where you would say form guide starts to properly show itself. An interlap gives you an indication. This gives you an answer.
Quite indeed. Chiquito will be wanting to at least put Angry Sharks on the map a little bit here. They're a team not really known to be towards the front, but they have got a few drivers that can pull some magic out. 26-7 for him as well, actually, just behind Monza. Puts RSC under a little bit of pressure. Might have to look behind them just a little bit as well. Also, Zito next coming across the line as well. That's the AMR man. Pretty good stuff here for AMR as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what they could bring to the table this particular quarter as he come across the line. 26-4. Finds 3/10 on Monza.
The only driver, Otso Zito, to have started every round of the Velocity Ultimate Masters. Ivan Eskrig only missed round 3, which is why Dom is the third driver who has been used over at AMR. Now, David here for the Future Racing team is going to be huge as Ivan Eskrig makes it a 1-2 for AMR in the Scuderia Ferrari. Oh, massive wiggle through the corner there. Fighting to get the turning over the curb was David. That would be concerning. Was purple in sector 2 for his measure. So can David find a nice time over the line? Oh yes, 126.3. Yep. Even with the half a tenth, he would have lost maybe a tenth scrub at 130R.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. David is more of a technical driver, so a technical circuit like this one is going to fall well within his remit. Here's Marciano, that's the Red Bull drivers representing ET8 here in this particular championship. Matteo goes P3 with a 26-4. Here comes Marciano. He comes across the line, 26-7.
That's not safe at the moment, in my view. Silo quickest on a 26.2. Is there any doubt about that? And here's his teammate Snack, who is making his second start of the season. He did the last round over at Imola, where he found himself being the driver who had to bring home the lion's share of the points in the Alpine. Yellow flags out in sectors 2 and 3. That's just a warning for drivers that there are some that are slow out there on track. Now try and straight line down the hill as much as you can. Snack goes fast on a 26 flat. So that's a true indicator of what pace is there, and some drivers have 0 to 100 mode. Some can dial it up, 90, 92, 95. For example, Snacks going aggressively quick out there at this stage of qualifying, and it is Suzuki's Igniters 1 and 2. Zinedine Hajjaj only going 8th, so there will be a little bit of concern as Nico there in the Racing Bull for Venturi. Happy with that one in 4th.
Yeah, both FRTs are up into the top 10 as well, 3rd and 8th respectively. AMS still dwindling down in 16th and 17th. Max von der Gies will be hoping to bounce back really well. He only goes P9, 26.5. He's got more pace than him than that. Certainly compared to his teammate, around 0.2 of a second. Tetem Restek looking to try and get at least one of their drivers through as it stands. We've got a little bit of a challenge with Gyosh down in P14. Karim hasn't even set a lap yet.
No, so Kareem we saw have a little eye on at FRT. Caden's off out there and running in the Aston Martin. David feels like he's the first driver who's truly safe on that 26.3. I think you need at least a 0.5 to be safe, if not a 0.4. Silo will go over towards Q2 in that regard. Desperately trying to steal a little bit of toe on the run up on the East Straight, looking over towards here, that section. Oof. Massive lockup into the Astamo chicane. Then for Kareem, who dives into the pits, abandons the lap. And that puts you in a very scary position when you do that here, James. I wouldn't like to be in that position where you say, one lap only, make it count.
Yeah, especially with Tetem Restek's performance at the moment, I would be a little bit concerned with what's happening down at TRT. If Karim's diving into the pit lane with very limited time available, there's a real shot if he ends up making another mistake. He's not going to set a lap time at all in this one here. As it stands as well, both of the AERT drivers will be knocked out alongside both of these guys, the AMS drivers. Now we've got Gergo currently on an out lap, but the AERT driver of Track Racer is currently on a lap at the moment, up in P16. He'll be hoping to set something of a precedent setter himself. He's just going through towards 130R. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll go on board with Track Racer here, because that might put ASRT under a little bit of pressure with Chiquita. In fact, Track Racer just diving into the pit lane, so his session is going to be very limited indeed, with 3 and a bit minutes to go. So Gergo will be the one to start a lap here, as we've just got a lap time being set, and I believe that's Caden who's just come across the line for P11, 26.7. Gergo's getting on with his lap now.
Yep, so as things currently stand, with Caden going up to 11th, it's one Angry Shark in the drop. It is currently one driver over from All Elite Race Team. It is both of the Alien Motorsport Williams, and then it is going to be Tatum Restek's Kareem, who currently finds himself on the bubble. Drivers who will be a little bit concerned about where they are. RSC won't be too happy about where they are, and currently the top 6 have all retired from the session, so we know that Snacks is guaranteed safe into Q2, no matter what happens with 3 minutes to go. Fighting hard out of the Degners. Small flick right tests you because you've got to turn and brake at the same time. Very aggressive on the turn in then at the Nissan brake hairpin for Gergo, and needing to find at least a 0.5 to feel comfy.
Yes, exactly. Wants to try and get at least within the 0.5s if he wants to at least sort of breathe slightly. 0.6 you might squeeze through, but if you're in a 0.7, you're going to find yourself in a very tight bubble from P11 down to P16, which will be potentially a knockout. So, especially with all of those drivers running, that is going to be critical. Gergo has found plenty of time, of course, his last lap on an intermediate tyre. Hoping to approach now the next couple of corners with as much bliss as he can. Chucks the car in, looks relatively clean, if not just a little bit missing its apex ever so slightly, but he'll come across the line right now. Will go to set a lap time within the 4s. 26.470 beats Ozozito.
So Caden's retired, Zinedine Hajjaj has retired, Max van der Geest has retired as well, and you'd worry here with these drivers all on outlaps whether you have done enough to make that retirement worth it. So is there going to be 4 drivers who can improve past a 0.7, 5 who can go by a 0.5? That's the question that they will all be gambling on. And a few people saying, oh, top 8, top 9, they're all safe. There are drivers out there right now like Otso Zito, who is out there going through feeling like he's not safe. Right now, I would probably retire that car if I was Otso Zito on this outlap, realizing that you've got 4 behind you who have retired as well. You probably want 1 car in between you to not get the time that's wanted, and you're safe. So that is going to be a very important note. With a minute 10 left here in qualifying, it is currently Kareem who is out there, and this is a must-make lap.
Yeah, pretty important here for Tetem Race Tech, especially considering Giosh is actually out of qualifying as it stands, just by 0.003 of a second between him and Nico, the Angry Sharks Racing Team driver. Here they come then through the Spoon Curve, as he'll then head his way down towards turn 15, 130R. The Aston Martin Mercedes, as it is for this particular vehicle, will head his way now down towards 130R, and he'll keep it as locked to the left as he can, but not over that curb too aggressively. Clearly a very low fielding car here for this particular driver, but Karim is going to lose it, and that has cost him dearly. I think he's going to come across the line, and it's only P18. That is awful for Tatum Race Tech. They're going to have to rely on Giosh on his own.
Yeah, so Kareem's not going to have the battery here. Gergo will feel that there is safety at this moment. W Monza currently 200ths clear of the bubble, and that gives you no security at the moment. Checkered flag out then here in Q1, and W Monza looking to put safety in numbers. A 26.3 will do a very good job of that. Here comes Chiquita up to the top 10. Alex Marciano now on the bubble. Giosh now needing to get clearance, does so only 14th. So Alex Marciano, oh, he's going to be out in Q1. Can't get a lap done.
Ooh,
Nico
wow.
Sos now, this to knock Caden out, who put the car away early, does so. That's big, 7th for the Angry Shark. Kareem, we don't expect to be on a lap. It's down to Knight and Track Racer now to get a time that they need. Fighting hard then off of the Astamo chicane. Knight can only go 18th there on a 126.8, so it's just down to Track Racer to go and get this sorted. It's going to be him or Giosh. 2 Tatum Restec cars out in Q1 would be huge then for this team. They've already got 1 out. Will it be 2 that go out? Oh, it's 16th. They're both out. 15 thousandths of a second, says Giosh. Survives at the moment there as they work through. That puts Q1 in the books, and critically, Alex Marciano only P18. ETA are on the back foot tonight.
Oh wow, Marciano, where's that lap time come from? 26.7 is down in the lowly depths of, the midfield. So where has that come from? Probably just a lack of experience maybe around the circuit for Marciano. Just couldn't find, the grip out there. In the end, Snack leading the way by over nearly 2/10 though on Silo. Good stuff for SCI. 88 definitely on the back foot, especially with Mateo only in 8th. Wow.
Yep, so it is one from Tatum Restek out in Kareem. It's one out at Alien Motorsport with Knight. It is both the Kick Salvers, so that is both for All Elite in trouble there with Caden and Track Racer, and Alex Marciano out there for ET8. On the other side of this, it's Q2. So 3 less minutes on the clock, another 5 drivers to lop off the bottom of this list, and Q2 sometimes can be accused of being even more of a scrap than Q1. The need to get inside the top 10, a front 5-row starting grid position is critical in races like these, in a championship like these, and both teams going through already. The marker board there being absolutely battered about then by Armateo 46 by the looks of things, as now they start to work on getting themselves ready to sort out their first flying laps. Cloud covers come over a little bit, not a major cause for concern, I would say, early on right now, James.
Track's going to be slightly cooling down as a result, but don't expect any blisteringly quick lap times on this occasion, because I think the majority of the drivers will be using a U-Soft on this early part of Q2, but we should see the fresher soft tyres a little bit later on. Cloud cover, as I said, will probably reduce the track temperature just a little bit, but the technical nature of this circuit typically means that the temperature usually stays pretty high, so I wouldn't expect anything too significant out there. I don't think the track's going to get greener just at the moment anyway, unless it starts raining, which at a circuit like this in Japan, it's all then possible that we could see a little bit of a downpour.
Yeah, we've seen it before. It's often a circuit, especially when it's run in the September, October, that the typhoon season runs in, and you see that rain is huge, and actually part of the reason why this circuit now has an April time slot compared to where it used to be run in September or October is to just avoid the inclement weather conditions that plagued them, say, for example, in 2005 and also back in 2022, by memory serving me correctly, where they had some pretty bad conditions out there. Working, though, here with Jaquita, then on this first attempt through, you can see trying to harvest the energy out of the battery there with the red rain light flashing there in dry conditions, working up through the Nippo corner and over towards Degner's 1 and 2. You've got to get all the way to the left-hand side, attack the first part because it is so committed, and then you've got Camber to help you through the second part there of Degner, and then back up this small crest. What a wonderful viewing banking area that you've got there on the outside.
Couple of missed apexes though from Jaquita going through the second Degner and then going through the hairpin. Obviously I think that's probably just as a result of the used soft tyre, so maybe a 10th or 2 missed on that occasion. Here he comes then through Spoon, and look, there it is. Yeah, knew it straight away. The tyres are just screaming at him, loses the rear, and he'll now just need to settle down and have another go at this one as well. Nico will be the next person to set a lap that will be somewhat representative in these used soft tyres.
Yeah, really needing to try and use this, just set a sighter out there, and even to some extent just put some more rubber down out there on the circuit. Build the track into an environment where you get the most out of the second lap, and it will feel a little bit that these first laps, Jaquita puts a 28.3 down, not representative, 26.9 from Nico over at Ventari. It will feel like these first laps, and for those in Q1 and Q2, the first effort almost feels like F1 testing, and you'd be looking around at Otto Zito, wishing I had a rear wing that flipped 180 degrees around, third fastest.
Yeah, absolutely impeccable bit of engineering that from Ferrari, isn't it? Looking forward to seeing how that works at Australia in a few weeks' time. Here comes the first set of laps coming in, then FRT's Adrian setting a lap time in the 27.5s, well down the field, but again, not particularly representative at the moment. We've got Guyosh, Nico and Snack out on track now, yet to set a lap though as it stands. Guyosh himself is the solo TRT driver. Of course, his teammate knocked out, Karim, really struggling out there. A Snack goes up to P2, just tucked in behind Matteo by around about half a tenth of a second. Guyosh, is that going to be representative for him as he comes across the line? P7, 26.871, exactly a tenth faster than Nico.
So, combinations needing to find work then in the early stages of Q2. There is Nico Sos, not to be confused with Ventari's Nico out there. They have driven quite a bit against each other in the early goings of the season, but this second half now is going to line up with a lot of driver responsibility for getting this season sorted, working through, taking the Lisking wide line to cover back over across, attack the Astamo chicane there through 130R.
Wow.
And now heading over towards the pits because I don't like that lap on the old set of tyres. I'll get a brand new set on and that will be a little bit easier to deal with. So making it very easy at the moment here in Q2. 10 drivers have set a time, 5 haven't. The 5 who haven't, currently on the outside.
Yeah, Nico bottomed out over the curbs as well at the triangle, so it doesn't surprise me that he decided to just pit in and just abandon that lap in its entirety. Adrian, not happy with the 27.5, but again, it won't be panicking too aggressively at the moment, will the Haas man, because he'll know that a fresh set of soft tyres will easily eat that one up. David yet to set a lap will be the biggest shock for me at the moment. 9 minutes to go. I can't imagine he's using a new set either. Monza probably doing the same thing as well, but falling a little bit out of sync, so wanting to try and maximise the availability of the track at the moment, as it looks like clouds just starting to break up once again over the top of this figure of 8 circuit in Suzuka.
And so with the skies just clearing a little bit, we're talking about maybe a tenth or two being the difference maker by those conditions. And so for W Monza, this outlap, a chance again just to set some tempo and get a little bit of cadence halfway through. 4 cars out on track right now. Gergo, David, Zinedine Hajjaj and W Monza all there and trying to make their statement laps out there. And there is a big, I would say a big difference maker to be had by getting both your cars into the top 10. Psychologically, gives you so much help to work with. And RSC, they've been the consistent team. Not consistently at the front, not challenging all the time for victories, but they are the team that have been just, we'll get 2 bodies up there inside the top 10 and see how the points go. That's why they're 4th. That's why they're in that race for 2nd at the moment.
Yeah, RSC are going to be ones to watch here because I think they are a team to really be considering later down the line. If they can pull out a P2 or a P3 from this championship, some drivers may decide that actually RSC offers a completely different challenge to them. And I think that's the thing. Do you want more of the status quo from your teams like ETA or SCI, or do you want to try something new? And RSC proving that that they've just been able to find the stability that they need with drivers like Monza, like Zinedine Hajjaj. Here it goes through the first of the 2. Degner's bottoming out over the first. Degner's not going to be helpful. Second Degner looked a little bit cleaner, but he's staying off of the curbs, is Monza. He's prioritising race setup over qualifying by the looks of things.
And let's just talk about the ability of keeping the car low to the floor. Of course, this is a car that has a bit of ground effect to work with it, so effectively it gives you more downforce the lower the ride height is, but too low. And these curbs, which aren't necessarily tall, but they are wide, why is it creating that bottoming out effect?
Yeah, because if the cars are so low down on the track, of course, with the Venturi tunnels underneath this generation of F1 car, it anchors down to the ground. So you want to make sure that the track surface beneath you is flat. If you're going over a curb, well, that's particularly close. I think one of the Alpines there, he'll be wanting to make sure that the car over fast speeds, of course, is on flat ground, because if you go over a curb, you can find yourself bottoming out and setting lap times like that one at 26.9.
Yeah, that's not great for W Monza, and I would be concerned with that as a first attempt out there. Mateo currently the quickest, but looking here with FRT David, who moves into the Astamo chicane really nice and calm through this section, late to the curb on the outside, almost just glazing it over.
Lovely.
With a 125.9. That's 0.6 clear of anyone else. That is a fresh set of tyres for you, and that as very much of a case here was a haiku. It was almost a case of 0.5 in the first sector, 7 in the middle, and 5 in the last. It was a haiku. It was poetry in motion.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful there as AMS Gergo going up to P2 with a 26.3 of his own as well. So looking like here that AMS have got a little bit of a star in Gergo, clearly preferring the more technical circuits, getting above Hijaj. I think David's lap time may have been on a new set of tyres though. If that is an old set, 25.9 is blisteringly quick. Silo, well, this will be interesting to see what is his lap time like as well. Happy to go over the curbs a little bit here is Silo, so he's obviously prioritising qualifying just a little bit, but he's quite clever with his setups. He comes across the line 26.0. If they are used tyres, they are really quick to say the least. Nico 26.2 as well. Adrian 26.1. If they are used tyres, I tell you what, they are quick lap times.
They look like new tyres to me. There didn't seem to be the sheen off of the tyre set out there, and Snack goes quickest then on a 25.9. He was fastest in Q1. He was looking around at Q2 and saying, yeah, that was all I wanted and then some. It's going to be Armateo only 7th on a 26.29. So you're looking at the bubble right now. It's Max van der Geest on it, 0.004 between in and out. Guyosh is half a second adrift. Monza is 0.6 adrift. Same for Nico. And then, as well as they look at this stage, it is Jakita you got to worry about, who hasn't yet set a time. Nico crawling around at this moment, indicating that he's abandoned his first lap and potentially is looking to gear it up again. David says, good enough for me. I think I'm in Q3.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he's comfortable with that one as well. People are trying to say in chat that that was a used set of tyres for David. If that is the case, he's got actually 2 sets of softs available in Q3. I don't think that is, though. I think that is a new set, as you rightfully point out, Jake. I think Snack with a 25.9 is also a new set. Silo, though, down in P3. He'll be a bit disappointed he's in P3, but not disappointed with his lap. So just needs to find that extra 100th, extra, 10th of a second, and he'll find himself back on pole once again. Will the fastest man on console. Max van der Geest, though, down in P10. He's looking over his shoulder. Zinedine Hijaj is getting quicker.
It's currently Shazoo from Future Racing Team, from Future Racing Team, your top 4 as calm descends over the circuit. Nobody really in a position to want to go out. There will be a large scramble to get things sorted. And something that often goes underappreciated here at Suzuka, it's downhill towards turn number 1. You can see the staggering there of the boxes as there's a little bit of a queue to get in over at Ferrari. So for AMR, they're both in at the same time, but you've also got drivers trying to get out like W Monza, for example, who's trying to leave pit lane, but downhill in towards turn number 1, which is why you carry so much speed through turns 1 and 2.
Keeping an eye out then on Zinedine Hijaj, who's going to be putting Max van der Geest under some pressure. The Ventauri man will be a little bit concerned with his position at the moment, especially his teammate down in P14. Ventauri looking to try and get on the left side of the board if they can. It's very Eurovision-esque, if you will. But they'll be wanting to go on the left side of the board because that's usually where they're positioned. But so far, their pace showing that they're actually going to be struggling a little bit here, as RSC are hoping to get both of their drivers through to Q3. You'd expect at least one of them through.
Well, it's a question of, are you going to end up with a nice sparkly trophy, or are you going to end up with a synthesizer made of Furbies? That's the question that needs to be asked at the moment, whether this is going to work or not. But Hajaj is now going to try and set this outlap up. 1:55 remaining. You want to try and push about 80% on an outlap. You don't want to wear the tyre out. You just want to try and work. And this is where you get an understanding of how to warm a tyre without working it out. And I think Kimi Räikkönen was the greatest driver of this. Don't try and work a tyre up by weaving, by getting the tyre heated up from outside to in. You've got to really work the tyre inside to out to get the heat in on an outlap.
I think there's an infamous GIF. I think is it Bahrain. I can't quite remember where you've got all of the drivers. 2017, I think it was, where all the drivers are weaving left and right, and then Kimi Raikkonen just driving straight, absolutely no issue whatsoever. Zinedine Hajjaj coming across the line to start his lap. Then RSC going to be applying some pressure to Ventari, maybe even AMS as well. Gergo will be happy with the 26 treble 3, but there's plenty of lap time to be found out there. Even a couple of hundredths of a second, a few hundredths of a second rather, could find himself rising from P9 up to P7. So opportunities all around the field here.
There are, and so I look around at this. A 0.3 is not safe. A 0.2, I argue, isn't either. 0.1 is probably the target to get that safety margin. And AKP Adrian, who is out on an outlap right now, even he doesn't feel safe. 5,000 shy in the opening sector for Zinedine Hajjaj on what is necessary for him right now in the AMG Mercedes. Now working out of the Nissan brake hairpin and through 200 right. A corner that pretty much is innocuous in what it does, but the moment you lose concentration, you could be Daniel Kvyat.
Could be indeed as well. Horrible crash that one as well, but miraculous how he got away with it. Keeping an eye on Zinedine Hajjaj to spoon as he now heads his way down towards 130R. The RSC Mercedes looking at least to try and capitalise on what has been some decent form within this particular championship. Again, a particularly good second quarter of this particular game cycle, if you include F1 26 for RSC. Yeah. They'll be hoping to continue this on as he comes across the line, sets his lap, 1 minute 26.2.
You take that, one of the McLarens didn't have a good run at all, so that could be one angry shark in a world of trouble. Here's Guillaume then looking for it, only 10 on a 26.320. Gergo gets pushed down, but he's next over the line here in Q2. He's going to come across the line.
Much better.
26.265. That's a little bit better, but that does knock Guillaume out of the picture. Here comes Nico trying to get it done. Perfect P5. Otto Zito now is out, and it's Armateo on the bubble. It's Nico Sauce down into the pitch. Chiquita was the one who found himself in trouble, so this could be close. Van der Geest, only 9, and then up goes the likes of Zinedine Hajjaj and co. Will be happy with that. Van der Geest on the bubble. Armateo currently looking out, but is in, and that knocks Van der Geest out in Q2. That will be that with Ivan Eskrig taking the old pit lane down, back, and in, but critical was the qualifying. AKP Adrian up to 3rd, but it's big. Van der Geest out, and W Monza there, a little bit of a hit there for RSC. They've got work to do.
FRT finding themselves in the filling of an SCI sandwich at the moment in second and third split with SCI first and fourth. Matteo coming across the line at the very brink, no pressure whatsoever from the veteran man going up to P6. Great effort from them. AMR a little bit shocking down in 7th and 9th place respectively. Monza down in P14 is horrible for RSC, but at least got one of their drivers through. And AMS making another visit to Q3 as well, 2 times in a row now for the Alien Motorsport team. They'll be happy with that one. Max van der Geest pace slowly falling down the standings. His form is falling.
So that will put one of the Angry Sharks out, one then from Tatum Restec, one from Ventari, well, 2 actually for the Angry Sharks, and then 1, of course, from RSC. Critical for AMS to get into the top 10. They're 16 points back at Tatum Restec, and those will be vital in terms of their qualifying effort. Top 10 shootout is going to be on the other side of this. The race for pole then heats itself up. Q3 then, and the race for pole, which at this stage, when we've had Silo in the field, it has been Silo who continually gets the job done. But it's Snack who's been the tour de force out there, and the fact that we got almost everybody jumping out early, and the fact that we are overcast again, I wonder whether this is another case of get out on track as soon as possible.
Yeah, they're weaving left and right as well, trying to warm these tyres up as quickly as they can. So I'm wondering if rain has just started to appear on the radar. So everyone, other than Ventauri's Nico and AMS Gergo, have been sent out here now. In fact, I think they're just leaving the pit lane or going to be imminently. Either way, if the rain does start to fall, that would be pretty significant. That's going to be on the favour of the drivers that, of course, have got, you know, the ability to be able to adapt quickly to situations, not necessarily because of the rain, but just needing to get out there and set a quick lap, and that's where you see Silo at his best.
Well, this is Silo, and we're on board now, trying to burn the battery. 8th gear, don't make sure that you hit the rev limiter in towards 1 and 2. You can carry the pace, brake late. Here, 4th gear, and now you're trying to work off for the exit. 5th gear, 6th gear, the Asura S-curve here, the left, the right, and then the left, which opens up then for the Gyaku Bank, possibly the greatest corner name on this circuit. Then through the Nippo left, which ends the opening sector, really punishes the right-hand side tyres. They scream through this opening sector. 31-1 in sector 1 into Degner number 2, and now over towards the Nissan brake hairpin. This has been on rails for the opening sector of this lap, just lisking over down at the hairpin. This is wonderful to watch.
Yeah, a little bit of a lock-up in the hairpin, but not too much time lost for Silo at the moment, as the man will now head his way up the hill towards the spoon curves here, turning the left here. Very well planted car. Looks like it's on rails going through 13 and 14. Very well planted, these cars as well, through that particular set of corners. Now he's going to head his way through 130R. Easy flat for this Alpine Renault as he heads his way down towards here, and then he'll head towards the triangle, hoping that the tyres aren't screaming too aggressively. Through the right hand, a little bit of a lock-up again. Not too much of a problem, though, for Silo. First lap time on the board in Q3 will be from the fastest man, 1:25.9.
That's decent. That is a decent time, but Snacks has found 2/10 in the back pocket. A 25.7 and 9 from David is enough to go second quickest with the first attempt. Zinedine Hajjaj on a 26.1 will be bottom of the times that are set. My microphone just fell over for a second, but for the time being, you got Ivan Eskrig only able to go to 4th fastest, and you're looking around AKP Adrian, a 26.4, not what the doctor ordered, and an invalidated lap there for Otto Zito.
Yeah, Amal struggling just a little bit here in this scenario here as Matteo comes across the line for ET8, goes to P6 with a 26.2, a little bit down the order for him. Nico well down the order at the moment for Ventauri, yet to set a lap time on the board though. This is going to be critical here for Ventauri. They've lost Max von der Geest, a man really struggling with his own personal form at the moment, so Nico has got to capitalise at least on a P5 or P6, at least try and put some pressure in the midfield to allow Max von der Geest to race his way up towards, and then they could start working with each other in that midfield, try and capitalise and defend on the points, maybe even climb the standings if they can. Here he comes into the triangle then, a couple of last corners before then this long sweeping right-hander. He could go flat here, no issue whatsoever for Nico. He'll be hoping to set a 26.1, and he does exactly that.
It's a good 26.1. It's just 3,000 shy of Ivan Eskrig and 5th fastest at the moment. Ventauri currently 6th in the championship standings, with both of the Angry Sharks out in Q2. They'll be happy in that regard, but with the Future Racing team, they've got both their drivers here inside this and actually qualifying quite well at the moment. There goes Gergo round and actually tags the wall there on the inside, the Armco barriers that are there and set. So tough for Gergo. That lap's not going to go. When you put that much pressure on a lap on yourself and you make a mistake like that, it's so easy to just let the negative thoughts go in. He's got to try and reset and give himself some time to go out and try again.
Tyres perhaps a little bit cold there for Gergo, so needs to alternate maybe his tyre regime before getting going with his lap. Also Zito on an out lap at the moment. The Ferrari man AMR will be looking to try and beat Ivan Eskrid, get into the 25s if he can help it. Try and get AMR a little bit closer in the mix here, because as it stands so far, it's been very much the SCI FRT show at the moment here in Japan. But Adrian well off the pace, probably a U set of soft tyres for him. He'll have another go of it. Don't discredit him or FRT for a potential pole position here. If Snack makes a mistake, they'll be happy to capitalise.
One driver that I'm expecting to find an improvement on another lap is Armat. Oh, he's retired. Here has Armateo. So is that the indication that there is rain out there if he has retired the car already with just one lap thrown in on the board? So that could be a huge momentum shifter out there as far as racing around this Suzuka circuit gives. Working through the Astamo chicane and back to pit lane. We've got cars on outlaps then looking for a second go. And this is the attempt for Otso Zito, who needs to try and find a good launch on this run moving forward into turns 1 and 2. You feel for many that this, with 5 minutes to go, is about throwing the dice, seeing if you can find a lap that sticks. And there will be some who look at, I can't get a lap down on the board or haven't got one on there. They have to take liberties and cautions. And Otso Zito is one of those drivers who right now you feel just needs to put a lap down.
Yeah, ET8 wouldn't allow Matteo to retire from this one unless there was some kind of personal issue. They were bottoming out a little bit going through the first Degner. So unless they are absolutely sure that the rain is going to be falling within the next 15 seconds, one would suggest that is a mistake from ET8, allowing Matteo to retire from this one here. Otsazito, yeah, really bottoming out though over the first Degner, suggests that they're prioritising, of course, the race. But what will Otsazito do? Chucks the car through then the first of the two Degners. A little bit of understeer, washing out a little bit here. Washes out wide again out to 14. So then he'll struggle a little bit as he now heads his way down towards the 130R. Tech Brutal actually making a good comment in the chat there. Actually, it sounds like Matteo perhaps only had one fresh set of soft tyres. He's used them, so there's no point continuing. So if that is the situation, very disappointing from ET8.
It's going to be huge if that is the case. And as you look around, there could be a few spots on the camera. Oh. So that could be something to work. 26.3 only from Otso Zito. So have a little bit of concern. Maybe it was just a little bit of grass kick up then that came through at that point in time. So it looks okay for the moment. Silo on this flyer then needing to find 0.2 of a second. We haven't really seen Silo have to worry in the back pocket. 200's up. Big lock up though. Oh, and a big kick over the curb. That's the first time we've seen Silo under pressure.
Yeah, he started to feel a little bit of pressure from everyone outside of the console scene at the moment. Obviously, being tapped as the fastest driver in console obviously has its weight, it has its merit. But as it stands so far, a couple of rounds ago, he was beaten by, I think it was a Grand Track 10 driver. Excuse me, down in Italy and I believe also in the Netherlands. And now he's finding that his teammate and an FRT driver are currently faster than him at the moment. Are we starting to see the cracks of a world champion?
Nico then saying no better than 5th position, and a driver who is so good, so strong at the moment. This will be an indicator then of maybe everyone is starting to pick up a stutter step. It is still quicker from Silo despite that, so that shows you how much pace he had on that lap, but he is 4,000 short of David. Zinedine Hajjaj can't improve. Down into pits you go. He's going to be followed in by Snack, who is happy with that 25.7 as a pole mark at the moment. So he will now try and work his way through Otso Zito into pits. This is going to be a setup for a grandstand of the final laps that are in. Aggressive goes AKP Adrian through the Astamo chicane. This is trying to set the lap up with 2 minutes to go. How good is this over the line? Much better, 26 flat. They needed that up to 4th. FRT have a day just as the rain now starts to fall.
Yeah, there is the rain, so we did expect it with the overcast conditions, as well as Smeggy in the chat saying that he started P19, yeah, but there were a couple of safety cars, just saying. Gergo looking to try and set at least somewhat of a lap here now for the AMS team. It's a bit disappointing that he lost it at the top of the Dunlop curve, so this is putting him on the back foot. He'll come across the line, 26.5, the track is depreciating.
It is, and that will probably be the final big attempt that we see out there here in Q3. I would pretty much put my house on the fact that we're not going to see any improvements in terms of time from this point onwards, but what a critical attempt as well it was by FRT David. That 25.803, close, but SCI have the control, and I am very shocked to say ET8 are nowhere.
ET8 are absolutely nowhere, and that's the team looking to try and take another championship in this Ultimate Masters tournament. But as it stands so far, they're on the back foot from SCI, once again finding their form, and I think a little bit of perhaps just driving together here between David and Adrian, who are just celebrating what has been a fabulous qualifying from the Future Racing team. On a front row start for David, second row start for Adrian. SCI and FRT could control the pace, but if either one gets in front of the other, in this scenario, they could control the pace of the entire field. What an opportunity for the English outfit.
It's a huge opportunity. You turn around, you ask Ventari, you ask the Future Racing team, where they are in the championship. They are one race win behind at 62 points adrift. This is a must qualify for them to keep championship hopes alive, and they have done a great job. They get an A in my book. Shizou Seeders Igniters, 35 points off of ET8. They get an A in my book, but it's an extra bonus championship point for Shizou Seeders Igniters, especially when at the start of the season, for the issues that they had on roster and a late roster, they got a 10-point penalty to start this season. They could be a lot closer. They could be 25 points back, but the key is this. Snack will be on pole, David will be second, then Silo and AKP Adrian third and fourth, Ivan Eskrig fifth with Otsozito ninth, Nico sixth, Zindine Hajjaj seventh, Armateo 46 in eighth, and AMS Gergo then will round out your top 10. We'll be back in a few moments' time, and when we do, we'll be heading to race spec and seeing just who can conquer these ever-changing conditions at Suzuka.
shouldn't want you, I shouldn't need you, but I'm afraid that's not up to me. Cause when I hear you sing through my speakers, it's like my mind takes a hold of me. I've tried shutting you off for some time now, but I'm still hearing your voice in my head. Oh, I wish I was more than your fan now, and that your voice came from here in my bed. You're in my headphones, baby, in my headphones, baby, in my headphones, singing to me. You're in my headphones, baby, in my headphones, baby, in my headphones, making me bleed. You're in my and it's so sad, it just makes me cry. Feels like I know you better than others, but you don't care, you never reply. I've tried shutting you off for some time now, but I'm still hearing your voice in my head. Oh, I wish I was more than your fan now, and that your voice came from here in my bed. You're in my headphones, baby, in my headphones, baby, in my headphones, singing to me. You're in my headphones, baby, in my headphones, baby, in my headphones. You're in my
Grid is ready then here at the Suzuka International Racing Course, which is owned by Honda as their merger, of course, with the company that worked, of course, for Motegi, brought itself into play. Tatum Restec on the back. They had themselves 20th as AMS Knight in 19th. The big shock of qualifying, Alex Marciano is going to have to go from 18th place on the grid today to go and get something for ET8. FRT Caden for All Elite Racing Team is there in 17th. To row 8 and 7, where Track Racer 23 and ASRT Jaquita sit there. The Angry Sharks both out in Q2. W Monza out there for RSC, and TRT Giosh there needing good, strong scoring for Tatum Restec, who have been a little hot and cold so far this season. The middle two rows, row 6 and row 5, as you'll have 12, 11, 10, and 9. You got Nico Sos, the second of the Angry Sharks, Max van der Geest there in 11th with Gergo, big top 10 in qualifying for Alien Motorsport, and Otso Zito 9th there for AMR, the only driver who has started every run this season. 2, 8th, 7th, 6th, and 5th, and Armateo 46th in 8th. He's going to need a little bit of luck to get back up the order. Zinedine Hajjaj there in 7th, with Nico Faventari in 6th, and Ivan Eskrig 5th, your winner last time out over at Imola. It leaves your front 4 of 2 teams, Future Racing Team and Shazoo Cedars Igniters. AKP Adrian and FRT David will line up on the dirty right-hand side of the circuit. On the clean left-hand side, it's Silo, who's not on pole, and Snack, who found absolute perfection in qualifying trim. James, it is setting up to be an important team dynamic. One team looking to get back within a winning margin, another team looking to try and take the championship lead.
Yeah, should be good, this one here as well. FRT obviously wanted to bounce back in after some sort of mediocre form. So to be on the front row and the second row is a really good opportunity for them. And I don't think they'll want to race too hard with the Cedar Igniters as well, with their objective pretty clear. Bounce back after what has been a bit of a shaky start to this championship and put ETA under some significant pressure.
50% race distance as we will get ourselves set. So you're roughly in for about 45 minutes worth of racing action, and this could be one of the most important starts we see in the season. The S's section, so easy to have a tangle of wheels, and we've seen it time again. 1990 comes to mind. You've got 2012 that comes to mind with Fernando Alonso in the opening corner. That pretty much set his championship effort spiraling down a hill. But these drivers know that it's not for individual pride and glory, it's for team effort. All drivers on the grid. 5 lights then on, and let's get ourselves set, because for round 6, we are underway in the Velocity Ultimate Masters. It's a very good start by Snack, and they're going to have to work hard here in towards turn 1. Silo trying to sweep around the outside and hoping that it's going to work. Yellow flags are out here in sector 3, but we're okay as we now work ourselves up and through. Van der Geest then losing one off of the start. Alex Marciano down to 19th, but what a start then for SCI 1 and 2, and now Silo having to gun for Snack.
Yeah, I think in the end, David, not going to be racing too aggressively with the likes of SCI. They've both got completely different objectives of the team, so this is probably the best scenario, actually. Oh, off of the track there, though. One of the AERT drivers, I believe it's Caden, who is now down all the way back in P20. Karim now up a position as a result.
Okay, then, not quite the goal that was necessary there for the team, but they got to work hard. Zinedine Hajjaj and Otso Zito now in a scrap. You can see hard tyres on for Zinedine, mediums there for Otso Zito. So this is going to be a tough start for Zinedine Hajjaj to go and get correctly. David losing out on the start. Big key reason why, hard tyre to start.
Yeah, that's, again, not really a surprise here for David, but if he can keep within touching distance of Silo and Snack, then he would have actually had a cracking chance at potentially putting them under pressure on the second stint, but he's already 1.6 down on the SCI team, and he's going to find himself struggling now with DRS now available for the drivers, and it's getting ultimately quite close to the Ivan Eskrig as well. He's breathing down the necks, and no surprises, Adrian's been allowed to go through on those mediums.
Well, in one lap, they've lost 2 seconds to the back of SCI. They have absolutely romped clear in the opening lap of this race, burnt the battery. They knew they had to get away, and then they can work together to try and get this sorted. This is a wonderful 2-man tandem to get themselves up and clear, but Adrian now on a new team is going to need to try and run with everything that is possible. He tried so diligently in the races that he had over at the All Elite Racing Team. They saw something at him at the Future Racing Team, said, come on over, I want to see what you're capable of, and he is now trying to just pull himself back into range of the group in front. That's his goal now, to stay within a second and a half if he possibly can, and he knows that there is a good group behind. Ivan Eskrig and Nico will be trying to make that progress. Matteo starting as well on a hard tyre, so he will also try and go as long as he possibly can in this opening stint.
Yeah, decent midfield driver is Adrian, able to just get the consistent running in, so good opportunity for him to work with FRT. Unfortunately, though, he is still losing ground to the SCI team, so it's going to be surely now about maintaining a little bit of a DRS advantage for David, because when he switches over to the medium when everyone else is on the hard, he is going to be one to keep a very firm eye out on indeed. Lap 3 of 27.
So, main straight and the opportunities to overtake. Seeing one in the background there with the likes of Track Racer on Night. Otto Zito to the inside. Caden retires the car from the race, and so that will mean everybody else from this point onwards is going to score points out there. The only place you don't score a point for is dead last. So Caden going, I was pushed out of line. That was tough for me to deal with. I can't get by anyone. I'm going to say that's my day done. But for the moment, there's Nico Sauce just on the cusp of the top 10. Gergo has held his place well for Alien Motorsport in 10th. As I say that, he runs slightly wide through Degner's, picked up a little bit of gravel there on the front left, and nearly there was Nico Sauce in a position. Half defense being shown at the Nissan brake. Hairpin drive needed off the exit, but Gergo, just for the moment, has held his station. That's huge for AMS, who are down 16 at the moment on the likes of Tatum Restak.
Yeah, don't worry about the debris that you see going through the second of the two Degners. That is a glitch within the game. The drivers don't see it, and it doesn't cause any damage, so nothing to worry about, just purely aesthetics. But the situation report at the moment, SCI 1-2 with Adrian and David P3 and P4 for them. David's still within touching distance of Adrian's DRS. Doesn't surprise me. FRT can work with each other towards the front here as well, but Ivan Eskrig will be hoping that he can perhaps get a little bit of a leap on David on these hard tyres. It's pretty critical if they want to try and maximise that one. But with David still within P4 on the hard tyres, he still has a little bit of an outside chance of getting a good run in on the second stint. Meanwhile, SCI are doing classic Shazoo Cedar Igniter action here, maintaining their own pace at the front of the field.
Let's put it to you like this right now here, James. If it were to finish like this, SCI would have the championship lead heading to round 7.
Doesn't surprise me in this one here as well, because look at the situation with Alex Marciano, because that is a critical situation. You would have expected the ET8 driver, yes, albeit on a hard tyre, to get past all of these midfield runners, no issue whatsoever, but the DRS train is hampering his performance, and P18 is only scraps of points. Matteo only down in P7 as well. This is turning out to be a pretty poor race for ET8 here tonight.
Yeah, but don't count your chickens just yet. Mateo is someone who can drag a performance out of even the worst scenario given. He is wonderful at it, and he is looking to try and make something happen right now. You can see your biggest movers and shakers on the left-hand side. Knight up 4 is the biggest in terms of overtaking mark at the moment, from 19th up to 15th. Right now for Alien Motorsport. They're really happy about that, and giving just enough room is Armateo there to Nico just in front, who is working hard for Ventari, who have pretty much positioned themselves best of the rest. Yeah. That's a change for position. Silo leads, Snack second, and so they'll look at this and go, very happy, would love a good 1-2 out of it. How much of this is we want Silo to win this race, and how much of it will be Snack happy to be deputy, or will Snack at some point in this race go out there and say, no, I think I can beat Silo here in this race, and I think I deserve to?
SCI are a very professional organisation, so one would suspect that they're just trading positions, trading DRS to just work with each other and maintain the tyre degradation between the pair of them by obviously sticking one behind. The dirty air will, of course, rip the tyres to bits, so it's important they work with each other, trade positions every so often, and maintain an equal sharing on tyre degradation. The gap is now 3 seconds for Adrian and Snack. David's still within touching distance of him, though, which allows the DRS to keep maintaining on those hard tyres. That could be critical, as I said, later down the line in this race when everyone switches over to a hard tyre. So just manage that one, maintain and keep an eye out on that one. And once again, I have to mention ET8, Marciano, still not making any progress. He's stuck in P18.
Well, let's put this into perspective right now. We expect this to be a medium to high downforce circuit out there. Currently, the top 2 have broken away. Everybody else is in the DR Hey, straight on. And that's going to be Matteo, who goes then and sees Otto Zito jumping. That will be a 3 second for a corner cut there, as he missed the chicane and missed his mark. So he will lose that. And at the moment, he'll lose about 5 or 6 places if it were to finish right now.
I hope for AMR's sake that was just a mistake from Zito and not potentially a hardware failure, because that looked like to me that the brakes just went straight to the floor and he went straight onwards, especially if he got a 3-second penalty. He couldn't slow the car down enough that the game just still determined that he gained an advantage as a result of having it. 3-second penalty for Zito. That could be critical later down the line when everyone gets over to their second stint. 6 of 27. 21 to go.
Well, this has been the AMR trouble over the course of this season. Ivan Eskrig has always put himself in a great position. It's Zito who's had the penalty and the disconnects and all of those issues that have continually put trouble in on the board as it brews time and time again. Mateo 46 continuing to give himself a chance out there as Nico then sits in that 6th place, taking the toe from Eskrig, from David, from AKP Adrian. The longer this train goes then in this group on a hard tyre, the longer you stay in this, the easier it gets for you later on in the race. Up over the bridge and working through the fast flick left, heading over towards, out of 130R into the Astamo chicane, named after the car which is created by Hitachi of all companies there, the Hitachi Astamo. That is where you need to find these moves, and now you get a sense of why top speed is critical. Look at them, they're pretty much dead level, can't find a lane.
Oh, I'm looking at Mateo. He's looking a little bit impatient now as the ET8 man wants to get past this Venturi driver as quick as he possibly can, but finding the dirty air is just becoming a little bit of a challenge to maintain this one. But look how close he is to the back now of that Racing Bull. Is the Red Bull Var Mateo. He'll be looking potentially for the overtake going into the hairpin, I suspect. He's eyeing it up. Here he goes.
Well, you need to have a great section here through the Degners. You need to prioritise the exit here of the second Degner corner, which is the most important part of it. And now up towards the Nissan brake hairpin again, loses a stutter step through this section of circuit because of the dirty air. You need to apply the power on the exit under the bridge, so doesn't quite pay off yet as they go through, but they have almost dropped Zinedine Hajjaj, and he has just broken outside of a second. So at the moment, everyone 9th on back is going to be, I would say, marooned on this island at this stage, and they're going to need to do a lot of work here in Mie Prefecture, Japan, to get themselves back into placement. This is going to be a tough run at the moment for Zinedine, and he has got to step up. 1.7 seconds. Look at the difference.
What is happening at the moment to Zinedine Hajjaj? Those steering inputs look a little bit dodgy. I'm wondering if he's back in AI at the moment now with Zinedine Hajjaj. Has he disconnected? Is he going to disconnect? That will invite Gergo into the mix here. No surprises, David and Adrian switching positions as the hard tyres become a thing in this race. I have a feeling Hajjaj is about to disconnect, or is he currently in AI mode at the moment because he's losing time hand over fist. Here's Nico Sos. Is he going to look for it? No, not on this occasion. Can we go back on board with Hajjaj? Is he back in this race? Is he now taking control of his car? Looking at the steering input now, I think he's just now back in the lobby. I don't know what happened to him. Maybe a small disconnect, but the RSC man has lost a position as a result. He's down to P10.
It's a micro disconnect, you'd call it, and it has cost a place, and it's cost the entire group. Gergo did well to get into that 9th position, but critically it's cost them 2 seconds from what they need. And there is Mateo trying to get the pass by on Nico. Yep. Nico having none of it then through 200 degrees. Right, pushing Mateo out of the way. Get the elbows out. Mateo has none of it, screams it back down the inside at Spoon and says, "You don't push me out, sunshine. I take places and I eat people like you for breakfast."
Yeah, I thought for a second he was looking at the hairpin as a potential overtake, but I was on lap too early, clearly, as he puts him under pressure, gets it done at Spoon. Now up to P6 is the ET8 man. He'll be chasing down the AMR man of Ivan Eskrig to try and get into the top 5.
Yeah, we'd love to have that jump. David back through on AKP Adrian. Adrian almost at a second behind at this point. So the pace not good enough as the tyres now start to go. Now we get takers after just 7 laps. Guyosh is in and Nico Sos is now into the pit. So both of those drivers making the call that it's time to get onto a hard compound of tyre with about 2/3 of the race remaining. So you can see there, nice, I would say tight pit box there for Guyosh onto the hard tyres. Nico Sos then off and away and gone.
Yeah, off and away, certainly gone. With flashes out of his pit box, now down in P18 as they now try to nurse these hard tyres a significantly long way. If they tried to commit the one stop, little mistake there from Snack here, a little bit of an unforced error from the pair of them. Maybe they're just having a little bit of fun between the pair of them now. David just starting to edge away from Adrian here. Now, I'm going to be honest with you here. If I was FRT, I'd be telling David, slow down, because Adrian has helped you throughout this part of the race here. Now try and help your teammate. As it stands, it looks like Adrian's going to be exposed unless he's pitting this lap.
It's going to be tough, because if you leave yourself open out there at this stage, it's going to be a case of you need to try and hold on with your own accord. And AKP Adrian here, if he can't hold the pace of David, now needs to make a stick or twist decision, and he will realise that he's given Ivan Eskrig a golden chance. Snack now into pits, so that's going to be one from SCI that jumps in. Adrian has to follow because his tyres are burning up. Nico is also going to follow in and make that call for a stop, and I think the mediums, 9 laps is about as far as you can go. If you can stretch it 10 like Silo or David is, that's great. There goes Zinedine Hajjaj straight back through on Gergo, who is on boil tyres at this moment, and he is just trying to nurse them back home for a pit stop.
Critical part of the race here for David now. These are the best that the hard tyres are going to be. He's got nobody around him, and he's got 1.8 seconds to the man behind, who's also on a medium. So around about 2.5 to the next hard tyre runner, with 4 seconds behind Silo. This is a critical part of the race here for David now. Manage the tyres, manage the race pace, because when you get onto the medium tyre, if this part of your stint is good, you might have an outside chance of winning it.
And that outside chance is critical, because you need every chance to go and pick up points, especially a team right now that looks at RSC, who are very much in the midfield once again. You're looking at AMR. They're also in and around you in the midfield. You're searching at Shizdu Seeds Igniters. They're perfect. You can't do too much about them. But ETA, you want to really reel them in and keep yourself in title perspective at this moment in time. On board with Armatea now, who tries to figure out Ivan Eskrig just in front. He will be due into the pits. DRS will be active, and it's the last one of the last times we get to say DRS. In fact, Ivan is going to go out longer as race leader Silo hits the lane. Ivan Eskrig going for a massive overcut here.
Where is Snack going to come out in comparison to Silo here? Because that undercut looked particularly powerful for the likes of Nico, funnily enough, actually, in this one here. Here comes Snack. Where is Silo in all of this one? I think he might just be getting overtaken, and there is the switch. So Snack manages to get the jump on Silo. It's still a prospective 1-2 for SCI here. No concerns about Adrian in this one. But the question is about where David is going to be at the end of his hard tyre stint. He will be significantly behind, but will he be able to break the DRS train, I wonder, Jake?
Well, the only thing that would put them in a bit of trouble right now potentially could be a safety car. I think that's the only thing that would put them in a little bit of a pause of concern. But as far as they've driven these first 11 laps, they have been absolutely brilliant in terms of the early stage running of this. Ivan Eskrig then with Otso Zito behind by 1.7 seconds, driving quite nicely there in third position, hanging himself out a little bit longer just to get better tyre life on that hard tyre. It's not often that you see drivers go out there. It's 80% that is the risk factor of the tyre for it just blowing up. By matter of fact, there's too much wear on it, so he's well within that range at the moment. He doesn't need to worry about 80%, but he should come down. And no, he stays out again. Wow, I am shocked here by AMR's call here. They are hanging themselves out a lot longer than I thought they would.
AMS deciding that they've had enough of these medium tyres, though, so literally AMR are the only ones that are doing a completely different strategy to probably all the other 9 teams at the moment here. Keep an eye out on what they decide to do in this one. Here is another little sort of team battle, if you will, between RSC. Ventari's Max von der Geest, a man desperately out of form at the moment, could really do with a little mini win if he can. The best way he could do that one is try and get past these RSC men and try and capitalise on a Ventari poor performance here to try and show he's got the pace to try and get them back up and running. Keep a very firm eye on that one, as well as keep an eye out on Snack. The gap is 5 seconds to carry him at the moment. Remember, these hard tyre runners have still got a long way until their pit stops. If they catch up, SCI could find themselves stuck in a little bit of a DRS train with back markers.
That's not great, but remember, they'll have 9 and 10 lap older tyre or younger tyres to work with, so they will be in a much stronger position to go and get the jump on forward. I would also keep an eye on the likes of AMS Knight, who has picked up the fastest lap bonus point for getting that all sorted with his time over the line just then. But we are expecting some quicker lap times to start knocking up on the board with what everyone is now doing on fresh tyres now at this stage. So keep an eye out on tyre life. It's critical. Finally, oh, Ivan's got 10. Ivan's got 10 for speeding in the lane. And if you're going to go out there and do something different, that is going to be massive. Absolutely massive in the terms and context of this race, and suddenly from a position of being third in the championship, they can kiss goodbye to it.
That's it. I think it's to be perfectly candid with you, a little bit of a uncharacteristic mistake there from AMR, and critically, Otsazito has got that 3-second penalty early on for, of course, cutting the triangle completely after making that mistake as well. So AMR just finding that they haven't got their mojo at the moment.
No, mojo's gone. Only the Ferraris of AMR Esports have the penalties to hand at this stage. It will give ETH something to smile about, because they could walk out of Suzuka now with championship lead if all things were to be rosy and hunky-dory in their position as it stands. So they are hopeful, I would say, in this race that they can just get a little something, a little morsel of something out there to say they're happy. And you've got to know as well, RSC are going to be quite happy where they are at the moment. They're 4th and 5th. They're probably targeting, again, 2 cars in the top 10, get some decent points. While they're not going to be out there scoring big, they are scoring consistent. That's what keeps them in there. Otsazito on board with, surely is going to be due down into the pits, and is.
Yeah, there we go. So they're diving into the pit lane here. Hopefully no mistake. Yep, not learning from the mistake of Ivan Eskrig on that occasion. David still leading this way from Matteo Monza. Zinedine Hejaj, Max von der Geest in P5 still trying to chase down Zinedine Hejaj, actually getting pretty close there, to be fair. But about 0.3 of a second for the Ventauri man, as it looks like actually Monza's made a slight mistake maybe. Either way, he's down to P5. Gergo with a 3-second penalty. That is for multiple warnings.
That won't do any favours for AMS, and Gergo was their car that was right up there. They've now fallen right to the back of the field, and Otsazito with that stop down in 18th place for it, so has fallen behind Guyosh and Knight and Nico Sauce, and track position just gone. They'll have to make the passes to jump back up through the order. So still waiting on the 9 runners who started on a hard compound tyre in this race to make their first and only stop, and that'll be due roughly in about 4 laps time, you would reckon at the moment. Here's Max von der Geest looking to try and get the pass into Spoon. You're not going to get it here. Off camber through the second part, and you can drive for the attack off the exit. Go down the hill and attack back up it once again. Use the slipstream available. 130R will come along for you, and it will give you this really good chance to close with the DRS, and then maybe have a sortie down the inside. You can parlay for an overtake, and almost climbing up over the rear wing of Zinedine Hejaj there was Max van der Geest, who is getting close, but close doesn't constitute a pass.
Yeah, close but no cigar for this one here as Chiquita diving into pit lane. It's the first of the hard tyre runners now electing to make their pit stops. Doesn't surprise me again. Maybe a moderate one stop on the cards here. Even Eskri with the fastest lap on a set of hard tyres himself. Remember, with the 10-second penalty. Chiquita now in 3 seconds to Adrian, who's got a 5-second gap to Silo and Snack, who themselves maintaining the race pace. But Snack, as you can see now, we're on board on the back of the back markers.
So he's got to get by Kareem. He's effectively a full pit stop ahead of Kareem here at the moment, and 3 seconds go Zinedine's way as he's off. Zinedine's off there at Degner too, and so he will have to trundle back onto circuit. RSC now in trouble.
Oh dear, we've got a few people watching Zinedine here tonight as well. I've been very disappointed to see that he's made that mistake at the second Degner with very worn, hard tyres. He'll have to trundle down back to the pits, get a fresh set of medium tyres on and try and recover something from this race. Here comes Snack and Silo to the back then of these back markers. How much time are they going to lose to the likes of Adrian as a result of this one? Or are they going to have to hope that all everyone in front of them make a pit stop?
Well, it's either they go or they don't, and if they don't, they'll have to try and work the passes here. Kareem has got the margin then in towards this chicane. You can sense that there is urgency on the passes. AKP Adrian, yes, 5 seconds. Track Racer departs then from the pits, but now it's a battle of slipstream versus not. DRS is there, and they're going to try and force a way through. Can't get the angle into turn 1, but you can attack 2. It's not quite there. They are bottled up. They are going to get frustrated here, and you can argue Kareem has nothing to fight for. You can call them back markers if you want. This is the position. He has every right to defend the place.
He has every right to defend the place, but he still has to make his early pit stop. And the reason why he's decided not to give this up is because he's currently chasing down Marciano directly in front of him. Now, if there was nobody in front, no doubt Kareem would say, I'm just not going to get involved in this. But he's elected to carry on racing. So that's going to be critical for Snack and Silo, who might start to begin losing a little bit of time to Adrian. Although at the moment, it seems like Adrian made a slight mistake because actually he lost time to the SCI boys. Nice little switch back here potentially from Snack. He's going to get alongside here. Kareem. Will Kareem give the position up, or is he going to race it? No, he's still defending against him. Interesting.
Now, I would look at this as a driver who maybe is eyeing up at these teams. Look how good my defending is. I would quite like a contract at this stage to try and race more aggressive next year. So this is very much a case of, well, I've done my best. There goes 1, there goes 2. I've shown you for a lap and a bit why I'm good at defending, but I can't defend it anymore when you've both got DRS on the run to 130R. He lifted, let them have it. In goes Max van der Geest. Then for his pit stop, he'll be shadowed in by W Monza.
Yeah, with all due respect, though, you can't really defend anyone if you're starting in P20. Either way, Kareem has lost those positions, and he will now maintain his own race pace as Snack and Silo didn't have to race with anyone else around them at the moment. But their next person is Alex Marciano.
Yep, so Marciano is next on the battle and next on the docket. We'll see how this move could be constructed next. So it's going to be 1 every time that you try and get 1 move. Every single section is going to be the key. And now, when you're looking around, Marciano's got nobody in front. So this should be easier than what we saw from Kareem. So this should be a breeze by after Spoon is now on the brakes, up into the Nissen brake hairpin. That's wide from Marciano, struggling a little bit there. So having to widen the steering through the corners in order to try and get any run off the exit. So now, where are you going to find the chance to get this move? Going to elect not to make it at Spoon. Wise decision, because now you can get the DRS and you can have a comfy look at a move now coming off of the exit here and over towards 130R.
No, he's really made the car a little bit wide there as the Red Bull, but I think this move is going to be done going side by side through 130R. Marciano surely not going to cause too much of a ruckus, but he's held up Silo just a little bit here. He's going to brake a little bit early to allow the Alpine Renault through, and yeah, caught up a little bit there, I think, with the back markers SCI. We did worry about that one slightly. David's in now to get onto the medium tyre, by the way. While that's happening, Adrian has managed to recover around about, I think, 1.5 seconds in all of that one at the moment. And let's see the gap there. He's up to P4, 4.2. Yeah, about 1 second he's gained on Silo as a result of the Snack and Silo getting caught up in all of the back markers. But it's not a significant amount of time, if we're honest.
David out and away in 7th, but still has Mateo, the last driver, to come in and make a stop yet in this race. His teammate there would have been hung out to try and do anything to halt the progress of SCI, who are going to be net 1 and 2 when they come out, with David effectively then in 6th position. He'll have to try and get by Nico and Ivan Eskrig, but he's got the 10 seconds of penalty, and then to get to his teammate AKP Adrian on board with Mateo at the moment, working through Spoon, and surely now he will see that everyone behind has stopped. That will be everything he needs. In fact, the only driver other than him who hasn't stopped yet, down in 19th, Zinedine Hajjaj, who is going to be racing, I think, just for a bonus point for the fastest lap. David then goes through on Nico for the pass. We expect Mateo to jump into the pits and does so, and it's a very aggressive single track line into pits. Watch out for the lane line, hits it perfectly then. Snack should re-inherit the race lead.
Yeah, I'm keeping a very firm eye on where he's going to come out versus David here, because David, of course, on that medium tyre, will hope that he can start to chase down the likes of Ivan Eskrig and his own teammate as well. Mateo obviously now being overtaken. Where is David in all of this one? He is just now coming across the final corner, so he should get the move, no issue, on Mateo. And there is Mateo leaving the pit lane, so David has only got the 4 cars in front of him now on a fresh medium tyre. Will he be able to get close to Adrian? Will Adrian let him by? And then the next question after that one is, can he then reach out to potentially get the podium out of Ivan Eskrig's hands without even considering the penalties?
Without considering is the key word, because it's then 4 seconds over to Silo, and those medium tyres do have a shelf life, and it's a lot quicker than the hards. They're good for about 6 laps before they start hitting their peak and then start falling away. It's what we call hitting the cliff out there. AKP Adrian has driven well out there, and I think that is a testament from where he was at All Elite, as Mateo gets by against Ventari Nico, or maybe the setup prowess that is done over at the Future Racing team.
Yeah, 2.5 in the first couple of sectors from David versus Adrian here. So one would suspect that the 5th place man is going to be making a move on Adrian at some point. And I'd be very surprised if FRT say that you're free to race. I think they're going to tell Adrian, going to have to get out of the way.
Well, if they are going to look at this and say it is multi-David is the best way to describe it, that could be huge. Really having to work through the curves, trying to overcut through various sections as there's double passes down the order. Van der Geest up to 11th, Track Race 13th. Nico Sos now dropping behind W Monza as David gets the fast lap bonus point in his back pocket. Monza now with 3 seconds at this stage. So 3 seconds worth of time penalty. Here comes Van der Geest for the top 10. Jaquita's got nothing from it. The angry shark right now, I think, is just a little bit miffed.
Yeah, just a little bit miffed indeed is the miffed Shark Racing team. Ventari happy with the man now up in the P10. Both of their drivers up into the top 10 now as a result of that one. Here goes the switch. David getting the move done on Adrian. No issue. Doesn't surprise me on this one here, because they want to make sure they maximise those medium tyres as much as they can over the next 7 laps. Gap 1.4 to Ivan Eskrig. Is David here could potentially considering a move on SCI as well? They're going to have to look over their shoulders, I think, on the Scottish outfit.
Yeah, 5 seconds is the gap for David to try and hunt down. And as we watch here with Monza, Track Racer and Guillaume has actually driven really well today from his position. He's just got to try and hold these medium runners. That's going to be a job easier said than done out there at this stage, because he knows that Track Racer wants to get through. He knows that Monza will have the pace but the 3 seconds to work with. And whenever you've lost contact with the car in front, you're effectively lame on the straights, because there is such an emphasis to it. Now we're going to go all 2 tires in the grass, then trying to get the move around the outside. Oh, W Monza is going to take all the liberty here, trying to get it done. Long way around the Astamo chicane. Oh, this could be a fantastic pass by Track Racer. Very lovely move to get that done. Guillaume now is going to see W Monza side by side, and they are going to have a duel of the fates on the straights as they try and work through just enough time. Oh, contact! Sliding around goes W Monza. How has he saved that?
Yeah, very well saved, but the gap was just not going to be there. The door was always going to be shut by Guillaume in the end, because he was almost in a box there with the likes of Track Racer. So Monza very lucky to still even be battling in this battling in here. Never mind, still in this race. Edin Hijaj, 3-second penalty. His teammate trundling down in P19.
It's a tough day at the office here, and RSC really did not need that, and so they are going to be pretty much on the shelf here with a result like today. 19th and 14th, that's going to take them well out of the top 3 battle, a day they could ill afford in this championship effort, and prize money will certainly hurt them as well. David now has his eyes on Ivan Eskrig, and this hasn't taken too long at all. He'll now get DRS. He might have a chance to look down the inside at 130R. He won't. So now he'll have to wait for turn 1, surely, to make this move, because the Astamo chicane is not open with the way that he has held his mark, and Hajjaj has gone off the road again down at the Nissan brake hairpin, so he's now just lost complete rhythm. But this is where the chance is going to come from David. Easy as you like. You get these done, and you call them the bread and butter moves, because it's a staple every pass with DRS on the straight.
Yeah, no surprises. Adrian's lost the position to Matteo, though, as well. He's on a medium tyre. Max van der Gies is climbing as well up to P9 as AMS Knight loses a couple of positions down to P11 is the AMS man as well. Good race, actually, from Knight here. Could be some decent points on the cards if he can defend from these medium tyre runners who are looking so quick. 2.5 seconds between him and the AERT driver of Track Racer. David was 4 seconds behind Snack when he overtook Ivan Eskrig. In one sector alone, the gap is now 3.2. He's gaining rapidly. He has an outside chance here.
It's an outside chance, though, only because he's got to use the tyre to go and catch, and then he's got to find a way away from Silo and Snack. Silo now with the lead, who has leapfrogged over Snack. So this is where you start wondering, has David got anything left on his chase? And he might have to be in red 5 mode, so to speak, and that is just set qualifying laps out there at this stage. Just do what you can. Zinedine Hajjaj in the pits. He's now onto a set of medium tyres, and so those mediums he will try and use to get the fastest lap bonus point away from some of his competitors, and that will be critical then for the likes of this team SCI, who quite very badly want it at this stage. Snack happy with his position. 3 seconds is the margin at this moment in time. Matteo through now and up to 4th, and that will be enough of 4th place at this point in time to hold the championship lead, heading over towards round 7. As there's the side-by-side. Great work. Otto, Zito and Nico at it. And Nico, who has got 4 lap older tyres, can't do anything about it.
Yeah, fair play there in that little bit of battling there on the hard tyre runners. Remember, these guys are battling all the end from pitting off of the mediums onto the hard tyres. So this is all for position for them. Matteo and David. So David has got to learn not to use his ERS too aggressively here, because if he can maintain at least some of his battery level, he'll find that actually, you know, he won't lose too much time on the straights whilst he's gaining all of the time in that first and second sector where the majority of the corners are. So he needs to manage it. Gap now 2.3.
He is really hunting this down. You can see he can attack more. That's 0.3 of a second through Spoon alone. That is light speed worth of difference out there. And he is bringing Matteo with him at 1.1 second behind with 1 lap fresher tyres. So these two have a really good shot of making something happen late. And I mean late in this race. We are down to just 4 laps to go. 24, 25, 26, and the all-important lap 27 of this race, and only 0.6 of a second a lap needed to get by these two from David. He's just got to respond, and he's doing well, because in the tight and twisty technical first section, he can take a 10th at least out of every corner, and he's doing so right now.
Yeah, but he's losing 6/10 on the straights at the moment, because both him and Matteo have been burning through their ERS to try and, you know, maximise their corners in the first and second sector. So it's all about sort of paying the price for using it here. But this is where Silo and Snack will be hoping that Matteo catches up to David quicker than David catches up to them, because if they start battling the medium tyre runners, then they could just maintain their pace as it stands. Gap 1.6.
It looks quite even, actually, on battery deployment, maybe slightly more in the Alpine section, but now you're starting to see David having to use it. Now you see Matteo within a second, and he'll be desperately loving a bit of DRS to get him closer, and we said he's someone who can drag a result out of anywhere. Can Matteo, you can never write him out of a race, and he is in the hunt for the win today, right now in 4th position. This is where you start asking, if you're Shizou Cedars Igniters, is Snack a sacrificial lamb?
No, surely not. 1.8 seconds the gap as they go through past 130R into the triangle. You'll want to make sure that David does the best that he can to try and maintain this gap of 1.6. It'll probably fall to about 2.1 with all of the lack of electrical energy. Matteo also struggling, but he now has DRS off of the back of David, so that's going to help his case as they go through into turn number 1. Gap actually about 1.7. David will now want to use as much of his tyres as he can, but you can see the rear Josh starting to step out as the tyres are starting to fall off, but the grip is still just about there. 1.3 as they go through the S's.
Yeah, 1.2, and you're starting to wonder, can he get it under a second on this lap? 1.1, and that's not even using battery through that section. You saw the harvesting that was there and needed, and it was wonderfully done. Oh, that's so heavy over the curb by our Matteo. Gets out of jail free there as he works his way around, but that puts him back to 0.7 of a second. Don't accuse them of not trying right now. They're pushing at 0.10.
Yeah, and he's not used a lot of his ERS in the first sector alone here, as Davids is now using his ERS down these back straights to try and get within the 1 second barrier. It's critical he gets DRS on this lap here, because they give him at least a lap's buffer of potentially at least trying to snatch a P2 out of the hands of Snack here, which would be so disappointing for Snack, to say the least. He got pole position by quite a ways to his teammate, but as it stands with Silo leading the way, Snack might be a bit of a sitting duck. Sacrificial lamb is not a bad phrase for him at the moment. If David could get in DRS, which he'll get the detection point right here, he's missed it.
No, 2/10 short, but he's going to get this on the next lap if he continues at the same rate. But here's the worry. Our Matteo does have DRS. He's 3/10 behind. He could send an absolute Hail Mary pass down the inside to get up to third.
Battery.
2.5 of a second, but no ERS. He's not going to get there. You're not going to get there, Sunshine. You're going to have to sit and follow and be David's shadow through the S's.
Oh, this is critical now. Set of S's is important. They want to try and get as close as he possibly can. Go with the time penalty. David will try now within the DRS now, thankfully, as a result of having these tyres, but he's got to use none. He's got to recharge those batteries, and he's got to make sure he's got a plenty of electrical energy to both attack and defend at the same time, depending how things go. Matteo made a mistake here last time. He'll learn from that one. Now he'll continue on. 1.5 to go.
0.8 of a second now, the margin. You start wondering here. David's going to give himself maybe one chance at Silo if he gets past Snack. So this is the moment you start wondering. One chance to attack. Where do you go and do it? You're going to have to be pretty quick by Snack.
Problem here, though, is that he's losing time on the straights just a little bit. Here is David. Matteo is now harvesting energy. He has to. He's down to 50%, and he's going to use overtake out of this corner, which is going to harm his chances. No DRS available here, but Matteo's looking very quick on the straights here because he's all the way underneath at the moment. David here, which is allowing that nice little toe. DRS will be available for the Haas driver, but he's nowhere near close enough for an attack against Snack. If he's going to do it, it's looking like it's only P2 on the cards here.
Nico Sauce with 3 seconds of time penalty. It's the final lap of this race. Is it going to be perfection here from Shazoo Seeders Igniters? Or is this going to be one where David has got a rabbit out the hat late in this race? Can our Matteo say something this late on? It is hards versus mediums at this stage, and you wonder whether the good life out there of the hard tyre is there. Otso Zito gets by AKP Adrian. Remember that Ivan Eskrig and Otso Zito both have penalties to work with. Silo now stretching his legs as he runs through the Nepo left, and now over towards the two Degners. 0.7 of a second the clearance is, and now Snack right here is going to wonder whether he's going to have anything left to defend with late on here in this run. Our Matteo might think, I'm going to go for a podium. There goes the lunge down the inside to try and steal it away, and they will fight amongst each other, and they might lose their chance to get it done. David holds his ground, coming out then through 200 right, but there'll be another search for a move here at Spoon. No, there won't. He'll have to hold his line and hold himself steady. Our Matteo trying to go for the Kobayashi move that does not work itself out. Now it's with DRS along this straight. Matteo's move has taken out the chance for a 1-2, and now the Astamo chicane awaits for these four as they hit the brakes for the final time. Outside line for our Matteo. Brutal stuff, and he gets it done around the outside. It's perfection here for Shazoo. 1-2 at the highest caliber, but Matteo is not letting ETA out of their sights.
Absolutely outstanding from Matteo there, the veteran, showing exactly why he has all that potential and all of that caliber for ETA. Fantastic to get that podium snatched right out of the hands of FRT's David. Adrian manages to get back up to P5, by the way, after all of those penalties for AMR, so it's a decent result regardless for the Future Racing team. Ventauri, a great performance, a well done Max van der Geest. P6 is a great performance. You've got to use that one as a leverage to get your form back, son. Great effort indeed.
Moves like that we have seen is a 4-point championship swing in some circles. That an critical 2 points for our Matteo there as he gets 22 championship points. Alex Marciano, 14th position out there. That's good enough for 6 championship points. So they have done a good enough job to keep the championship lead. As it goes, we still wait for Zinedine Hajjaj to hit the line, and then we'll be into the results scene. Great day at the office then for those in Ventauri colours at the moment. They needed that in sixth. They were a little bit listless, actually, away from everyone else. They're right back in to be on the left side of the board.
Yep, that's critical for them, isn't it? And they want to make sure that they'll carry on with that momentum. Zinedine Hijaj was looking, he's just spun out, actually, going across the line.
Finish
Looks like he's going to reverse over the line, as well as what has been a forgetful race for RSC as he comes across the line to finish in that position there. So what a race that was indeed, folks. In the end, the Shizusi Igniters managed to maintain what has been a really, really excellently crafted Grand Prix for them, with Silo, surprise, surprise, winning the race.
4 out of 4 it has been for Silo. He has been the inevitable force for SCI that has been keeping them in the championship hunt. The only thing that has stopped them really getting everything that they've wanted is the fact that he's missed 2 rounds. And in those 2 rounds, the team hasn't been able to perform on song. It was Finney and Euroan in round 3. It was Laurens and Snack in round 5. And so with the win that is in the back pocket then for Silo here, Shazoo are still very much in the battleground hunt for some big championship honours. The Season 2 champions back when they were just the Phoenix Igniters without merger with Team Shazoo. So that one too, I think pretty much will erase the damage that was done last time out at Imola. They will now be staring down the barrel of ET8 saying, you're not going to get everything your own way. But when you consider that next week on the horizon, you'll be looking at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, that is Slipstream City.
Yes, that's the critical thing, isn't it? And it's, of course, a track that's extremely high track degradation, as well as the Mexico City Grand Prix. So there will be an expectation across the field that at the end of the day, they're going to have to also not just think about, that long straight, think about the setup, but they've also got to think about making sure their strategy is bang on. And you're going to see all of that one next week in replacement of what should have been this Grand Prix next week. Should be good in that.
Yeah, let's just take a look at that calendar one final time because it's important, this rundown in the championship. So the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, very big drafting track next week. Interlagos, you can overtake at any corner. Kota, chalk and cheese for some. And then over at Lusail to end the championship. I think if you're wanting to make something happen, you can now round 7, round 8, round 9.
Yes, that's the critical thing now in this sort of sort of run now here as well. Brazil should make always for a really interesting race. It always does. Does Interlagos and Texas is all going to be about that undercut as well before we wrap it up at where else but Qatar, because, it's definitely the driver's driver circuit. You want to make sure that you're absolutely at your top notch, finding every millimeter on that circuit. And that is basically wrapping it all up. So it's all going to be about skill. It's all going to be about strategy. And then it's naturally going to end up wrapping up all about maintenance and finding every inch you can. It's going to be great, this last little ditch run. Who's going to be champion though, Jake?
Well, that will have to be decided in 4 weeks' time because it's back to back races to end this championship out. This Velocity Ultimate Masters Series is brought to you, Season 5, by Hyundai, Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and by The Specialist. In terms of this, from James Otter and myself, Jake Sperry, the Ultimate Masters is in its ultimate ping pong form at the moment in time. Everybody is staring down the barrel of saying, this is my week, this is my track. But this time, instead of a 2-3, SCI raised the bar. We'll get a 1-2. We'll score almost maximum points, and we'll make it very tough for everyone to get anything out from it. But if anybody can drag a car, can drag a team into contention, ET8's Mateo 46 is that driver. Once again, the experience tells a P3 from what was 8th on the grid says one thing and one thing only in my mind. ET8, the two-time champions and back-to-back champions, are not going to just roll over and let their bellies be rubbed by the likes of Shazoo Cedars. This is going to go right down to the wire. And the next round at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is one that could be a critical moment in the championship.